This is 93 Million with Doug Andrew. Welcome to 93 Million with Doug Andrew, where we talk about how to optimize your assets, minimize taxes, and empower the three dimensions of your authentic wealth. My name is Greg Dukowitz, your host, facilitator, IUL enthusiast, and amateur piano player. And today, we're going to be talking about the truth about indexed universal life, or IUL, the ultimate wealth multiplier. And we're joined by the OG of properly structured IUL, New York Times bestselling author, and the author of the Laser Fund, and great lover of acronyms, Doug Andrew. Welcome, Doug.
It's good to be here.
The master of the Max Funded IUL, co-author of the Laser Fund, and a man who loves eating kimchi, even if it smells up the office for like 2 days, Emran Andrew.
That's right, baby. I'm ready. Let's go.
A man who is a technician of IUL and co-author of the Laser Fund, and a man who does not like kimchi, thank goodness, Aaron Andrew. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you. Let's get into this.
All right. And our featured host for today, one of the top specialists at Laser Financial, a true entrepreneur, and a man with no shortage of opinions, Scott Reynolds. Welcome, Scotty.
Hey, thanks.
I want to start with this foundation because a lot of what we're going to talk about today has to do with the S&P 500 and the stock market and indexes in general, and that kind of subject line. So Yahoo Finance listed 27 market forecasts for 2025, with 24 of the 27 forecasting a positive year for the S&P 500, and two-thirds of those projecting 10% or higher. Donald Trump is very pro-business and anti-regulation. He's been in office for some time now, and the market's doing what it's doing. So the question is, on everybody's mind is, what's the stock market going to do for this year? Where's it going to go? What's going to happen? And my question for all of you is, why is it that as human beings, we place so much emphasis on whether the stock market is up or down? Doug, let's start with you.
Okay. Well, as I've indicated before, I feel bullish about America this year, and people are concerned about what goes on in the stock market because it's an indicator of whether the economy is going to be booming, and the businesses make decisions. They hire people, they expand, they don't contract like when a recession happens. And so when you have confidence in the market, you go out as a consumer and you're less nervous. You invest more. You go out to dinner. You fly more. And that actually stimulates the economy versus when you hunker down, like after 9/11, and people stop going out, they stop flying. That actually just keeps compounding the opposite. So people look towards what's going on in the market as an indicator. Can we have confidence in going out and being in motion and making money?
Yeah. Do people place their happiness on what the stock market does?
Absolutely. I mean, you're looking at the idea. I mean, again, remember, we got like a little over $30 trillion in IRAs and 401ks
right,
invested, and they're primarily invested where? In the market. So whether or not I have the capability to even retire, most people are definitely watching the market because that is an indicator of can I hang it up?
Yeah.
Am I ever going to be able to hang it up?
Right.
I mean, I have clients that look at the market daily.
Yeah, or hourly, right?
Yeah, and they're like
all the time.
Sometimes I'm like getting appointments, and now I'm like, well, what's the market doing? And my client will tell me
Yeah.
because they've been looking into that morning.
Yes.
I've been busy in appointments all day,
But they know.
because they're worried about like what's going on in the markets, and it's kind of like it's amazing how a lot of our clients are not that worried, which we'll get into, but it's like because people are just looking at the market all the time, and it is if we have another 2008. Something like
Right.
that in the future,
Yeah.
people get freaked out.
Yeah,
So people happiness is
and-
based on the market.
And we're going to get into that in our next segment, actually. So that's a good segue. But Scott, why do we live and die by the stock market?
I think most people do because they can lose money. And
Yeah.
we're going to definitely talk more about that, I'm pretty sure. But
Yep.
everyone else has money parked someplace where they're going to lose when the market goes down. And so they're constantly thinking, I hope it's up. I hope it's up.
Right. And the old adage is, hey, just stay the course, stay the course.
Yeah.
But everybody knows when that thing's going down and down and down and it's not coming back out, it's really hard to just hang in there. A lot of people just end up selling.
Well, and then that's how they sell it. Just stay there.
Yeah.
And then when it's back up, then you can do something.
Right, yeah.
I've got one client. She's like, If the market's up, I know I get a scheduled vacation. If the market's down, my husband's like, no traveling this year. So
Yeah.
like her true
It's
happiness.
like definitely happiness,
Yeah, happiness.
based on the
If
stock
the market's
market.
up, I get to go travel. If it's not, we're staying home.
Wow, what a way to live. Okay, let's go on to our next segment. But first, just a reminder that if you enjoy this content and you want to see more of it, please like and subscribe. And if you'd like to ask us a question, please comment on this video, and we may use your question in one of our next shows. Okay, on to our next segment. Zero, a real American hero. How IUL protects against market losses. Let's bring that list back from Yahoo Finance of those 27 forecasts. So 3 of those 27 actually show a negative projection, with one showing a 25% loss. Isn't that crazy? So many positive, but there's some negative projections out there. We often talk about IUL, or Index Universal Life, and one of the most important components is the concept of indexing, right? With a 0% floor when the market crashes. Now, we talked about indexing in another segment of a previous show, but let's dig a little deeper into why indexing gives so much peace of mind. Aaron, why is zero your hero?
All right. That piece of mind, what we were talking about is clients are always, worried about I have clients that have, a lot of money, and they still worry about spending money because they're worried that they're going to lose in the market, possibly,
Right.
even though they have plenty.
Yeah.
They have plenty of money, but they're always worried that, hey, if the market goes down, so zero is your hero, because in IUL, we can't lose if the market goes down. If the
Right.
market goes down, we get zero, we don't lose, and
Yep.
our gains were locked in from previous years. So we call that, our gains are locked in, annual reset, and again, of course, tax-free. So it just gives people peace of mind that they can't lose if the market goes down. We have zero's the hero.
I think Doug's been the greatest on this too, and helping people really understand. If I lose 50% of my money, it now takes twice the effort just to get back where I was
Yes.
before the market.
Yes, and we kind of talked about that last
Yeah,
time. That's
it's
exactly right. Most people have no clue what you even
I
just
didn't.
said. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Emran.
Well, that same client I was just mentioning, when her travels based on the market going up, market going down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yet when she learned about zero is your hero instead
Yes.
of an IUL, she's looking at me. She's like, wait a minute.
She
When
can
the
go on
market goes-
vacation every year.
Right. She's like, wait a minute. When the market goes down, I don't have to cancel my vacation. Yes. She says, wait. When the market goes down, you're telling me, remember, we're resetting at a new low.
Yeah.
So the year after the market goes down, I can go on 3 vacations the following year. And I'm like, yes, you get it, right? Because of that reset at that low point right there, we're going to shoot the moon on that recovery year. She's like, what's the downside? And I'm
Yeah.
like, exactly.
I've
What is the downside?
Right,
Sorry.
right.
I actually have had clients that have said, man, this market's been growing too much. I want it to crash.
Yeah.
Because they
know.
know when it crashes, they're going to capture all that growth on the way back
Yeah,
up.
the
and they don't lose.
The very first year I had on IUL was 2007. So my very first anniversary day was 2008, right? Right when the market crashed big time, right? And I got a big fat zero, and I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. This really works. I thought it's really great. But the real magic happened after that, right?
Yep.
So it was after 2008, I got a zero. Everybody else was down kind of in the toilet. And then as everybody else was kind of climbing back out of the market, it took about 5 years.
Yeah.
Here I was getting just positive increases and participating in the market rebound without participating in the crash. Are you kidding me? Like,
Right.
it was amazing. So
Miracle.
I love
yeah,
that.
Yeah, many of our clients locked in gains of 16% the first 90 days of 2009 after not losing a dime. And most Americans, it took 4 years to come back to break even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay, well, if you're enjoying this content and are wondering how to take advantage of these ideas, how to take control of your financial future and get on the path to lasting wealth, at Laser Financial, we help individuals and families like yours implement proven strategies to grow and protect your wealth. Strategies that don't rely on risky markets or high taxes. One of our most powerful tools is the Indexed Universal Life Policy, or IUL. It's not just insurance, it's a tax-free retirement strategy liquidity, a way to grow your money with compound interest, and a safety net against market downturns. Imagine this. During retirement, your money grows when the market goes up, but when it drops, your principal stays protected and through those market downturns. Because IUL strategies can be structured for tax-free income, you get to keep more of what you've worked so hard to save. Whether you're planning for retirement or looking to secure a financial legacy for your family, we can show you how IUL can make all the difference. This content is also brought to you by IUL Insiders. Hey, listen, if you're a financial professional tuning into the show and you're wondering how you can expand your business working with Index Universal Life or IUL, you already know it's one of the most powerful tools in the industry. But let me ask you this. Are you leveraging it to its full potential? That's where IUL Insiders comes in. They've trained thousands of professionals like you to go beyond just selling policies. They show you how to build a thriving, scalable business that sets you apart from the competition. In the next few weeks, they're hosting the IUL Challenge. It's a free 3-day event designed specifically for financial professionals who want to master the art and science of IUL. You'll learn proven strategies to protect, design, and sell properly structured policies that deliver incredible results for your clients and for your bottom line. If you're ready to elevate your practice and scale your business, visit IULchallenge.com/93 to save your seat. Spots are limited, so don't wait. That's IULchallenge.com/93. Take your business to the next level. Let's move on to our next segment. Dave Ramsey said what?
Oh, boy.
Dave Ramsey thinks that Index Universal Life is, pardon my language, crap. Okay? His words, not mine. In one of Dave Ramsey's shows and YouTube clips, he had this to say about indexed universal life insurance.
The Index Universal goes up every year inside the policy, but you don't see it.
What? Yeah, you
So
do.
if you got a $400 premium, a certain portion, like on your, if you ever look at your mortgage payment, a portion goes to interest, a portion goes to principal. The further you go along, more goes to principal, less goes to interest. This is exactly the opposite.
Nope.
The further you go along, more goes to insurance, less goes, because the ART is going up every year inside there, less is going to your investments. And so if you keep the stupid thing long enough, it will begin to be the point that the premium you're paying will not even cover the insurance cost.
Oof.
And so it starts to eat back into
right.
your savings just to keep the policy alive. And the thing gets what we call upside down in the insurance business. And so now you've got a real piece of crap that's eating itself from the inside out.
I'm sorry, but wasn't he the one that said, and that's no baloney?
Yeah.
I've never heard such baloney. He just doesn't know what he doesn't know.
Actually, that's a great segue from your last talking about IUL Insiders because it just shows he doesn't understand what we do.
That's right. That's exactly right.
What he's explaining is the traditional way of selling life insurance. What we do is totally different.
Yeah, he uses words like ART. It's like, oh, I sound so good. I know what ART means. It's like, oh, wow, he knows what insurance is because he kind of uses that language. And he's got his license,
Yeah.
so of course he knows all about it.
Actually,
so,
it's probably a good segue into you and I, Greg.
yeah,
Because
Scott,
we,
go
we,
ahead,
For a
Scott.
long time, we're holding up the Doug Andrew YouTube channel. We have the number one video on his entire channel. We're now in like number 13, I think. But in there, we do talk about how Dave Ramsey doesn't get it right. He doesn't understand it.
So why is Dave wrong on this? I mean, we're kind of chuckling, but this is serious. A lot of people just kind of don't know. There's so much information out there. It's hard to watch something like that, and then you watch something like us, and you go, well, wait a minute. What's the truth here, and how do we find the truth? So let's see. Emran, can you kind of walk us through why Dave Ramsey is wrong and what that, like, specifically help us to kind of understand that a little bit better?
You bet. I mean, again, he used that word stupid, and what is stupid? Well, stupid is like when you have a lack of information, right? And he's leaving out so much information.
Right. Yes.
Like he's just leaving it out. So
that was literally a 60-second soundbite, right?
Right.
He just
Stupid
kind
is
of boiled it
stupid
down
does.
into a couple of sentences.
So let's just make sure everybody understands, what insurance is so that we can dive in and understand what he's talking about.
Yeah, we're getting serious. We're pulling out the whiteboards here.
We're pulling out the whiteboard here. So, what is insurance? Well, insurance is simply risk management, right? When we're looking at risk, and when we're looking at especially this right here, death, life insurance is talking about the risk of death.
Right.
And so when we look at this, let's talk about, what you can do with risk. You can either transfer the risk by shifting the responsibility of risk to another party, usually through insurance policies or contracts, or the better way to approach risk is through risk retention, where you accept the potential loss from risk and self-insuring. So self-insuring is the cheapest way to approach risk and to approach insurance.
Yeah, and that's kind of the core of all
It
this,
is,
right?
And so how do you approach risk retention when it comes to death benefit inside of a life insurance policy? Well, if you're just following Dave, if all you understand is what Dave teaches, and if that's where you're going to go, great. Okay, what Dave talks about is people with no money. People with no money are doing what? They have to pay for it. Right? They can't own their insurance.
Right.
They're not following the affluent. They don't have a millionaire mindset, right? Mm-hmm. Millionaires don't pay for their death benefit. They own it. Right? They own it.
Yes.
And that's the Doug Andrew method. That's the millionaire mindset where you look at it and you turn around and you're going to own that death benefit. My money is the death benefit. Dave keeps on trying to talk about, term. He loves term insurance. Well, term insurance is where you're only paying.
Right.
You never own. He talks about renting. So you're always going to rent your real estate instead of owning your real estate. Dave, is that what you're telling people to do? I mean, come on, let's get this right. I mean, if you were to go out and buy a 5-story office building, simply put, how do you make money?
Yeah, fill that thing up.
Right, you rent it out.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same exact concept when you talk about insurance. When you talk about life insurance and the death benefit, we're wanting to self-insure by leasing out the entire building or getting your entire policy leased out. You maximum fund it, and therefore you're self-insured. For example, if you had $1,050,000 death benefit, I have $1,050,000 life insurance policy. Again, what Dave talks about is, that risk transfer, where you might pay $50,000 right down here, right? You might pay that $50,000. But you're always paying for $1 million.
That's a lot of insurance.
Mm-hmm. Start thinking like a millionaire.
Yes.
The millionaire mindset will tell you what? No, own that death benefit. So instead of paying $50,000, no, I'm going to pay $1 million for my $1,050,000 life insurance
That's a lot
policy,
of green.
right? And I'm only paying. Now, what are you doing? You're only paying for that $50,000.
Yeah.
So Dave thinks that every time you pay a premium, more of your premium is going towards like a mortgage, less is going to the principal, more is going towards the interest, is what he's talking about on a life insurance policy. Well, it's wrong. It works just like that. The more I pay, as I pay more, the more I'm going to own. So therefore I turn around and I can turn this beautiful asset. This can be a beautiful asset, right? If I leave it vacant, it's what? It's losing money.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like Dave's talking about, if you do what Dave's telling you, that is going to be stupid, right?
Yeah.
Why? Don't be stupid. Max fund your IUL like we talk about inside of a laser fund and turn that thing into a beautiful, beautiful cash cow.
I think it's ironic that he talked about a mortgage because I really liken it and what Dave is used to is renting a death benefit for a period of time.
Yeah.
And what we're actually doing is we're buying a death benefit basically where we're self-insured.
Becoming self-insured.
We're like buying a house, but we're doing it within life insurance.
Yeah, I love that visual of $50,000 trying to earn interest, paying for $1 million of insurance, right? Versus $1 million earning interest, paying for $50,000 of insurance. That's really awesome.
And I've got a real life example to show that.
Yeah. Okay,
Aaron.
Aaron.
This is amazing. So what we're talking about here to show you guys a real statement. So Emran just showed you, but let's put this into like real numbers,
Real
now,
terms, yeah.
and say, okay, now we've got this client. This is a client that we've had since 2012. You can see right at the top.
Great.
We've had a statement since 2012.
Yeah.
And now we're in 2025, of course.
Right.
And this client opened up this policy at age 70. All right.
Okay.
So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow, that's supposed to be the bad.
So and this is 12 years from how long?
We're 12. He's 82, 83-ish.
Wow.
So he's in his 80s now. So this is supposed to be real expensive.
According to Dave, this is falling apart by this time, right?
So it's supposed to be
This is supposed to be crap.
He said will. Okay, I heard him. He said will. This will happen.
So let's
But
see
he
what.
said.
Yeah, I want some
So-
of this.
This is a real statement.
That's what's crazy about this is like, okay, now this statement says at the end of 2024. So we're in 2025 now. But you look at this and say, okay, last year he had $744,000 of his own money in the policy, you guys.
Right.
So again, this is what Emran's talking about. This is the self-insurance part.
Right.
He earned $71,000 of interest that year, tax-free. So just like we talked about with indexing, if the market would have gone down, like 2008 or 2022, market would have gone down, he would have earned zero, like we just mentioned. and there would have been a zero there. But this year we had a good year. So here in $71,000 of tax-free interest.
Oh, baby.
And
That's
now,
really good.
and that's the thing is like, here's his fees now. So when they say premium, premium is what you pay into a policy.
Right. Yeah.
But his actual fees, look at his actual fees. What are they?
$1,000.
$1,000
Now that actually
and
sounds like a
$90.
lot in a dollar sense, but put it in perspective. That $744,000, if this person was paying like a 1% asset management fee, what would that look like?
Yeah, so if he has money with an typical financial advisor out there,
Right.
1% management fee would be about $7,400 of a management fee. Plus, they'd probably pay taxes on that $71,000.
Right.
Right.
So
absolutely.
they'd pay an extra like what, $20,000, $25,000, depending on their tax bracket.
Yeah.
They'd pay taxes on that as well. This is growing tax free, and our fees were only $1,000 at this point.
Right.
Yeah, they were more in the beginning.
Right. Right.
And then they're less later on. But basically $1,000 and this $90, that's all that went out in fees. And he had zeros the hero,
yeah.
tax free. Oh, his death benefit. By the way, he's taking money out tax free. We don't have time to get into that today.
Oh yeah, we'll get into that in the next show.
He's already taken out money, so he's got what we call a loan balance. But don't worry about that. We'll talk about it.
Oh,
like
yeah.
what these
Talk
things
about
do.
that. Yeah.
But he's got $762,000 of net money in there. So just remember that for a second.
Yeah.
$762 is his net in the policy right now. And oh, by the way, this last year we had some accounts earn 21, 8, 9.5. But anyways, let's go down here and look at his death benefit. His death benefit is $855,000. So his cash
So this is
value.
what Emran was talking about.
Yeah. So this is his death benefit is $855,000.
Yep.
His cash value is $762,000. We have less than $100,000 of net insurance risk that's being transferred to who, Emran? To the insurance company, right?
That's right. That's right. That's it. That's it.
And that's so
I'm
interesting.
self-insured.
Yeah,
that's-
self-insured.
$1,000 is paying for. That $1,000 at age 82, even though
Yeah.
he's older,
Right. He's older.
So
is
it's
paying
the
for-
cheapest when I need the money the most.
Right. And Dave talked about how as time goes forward, it becomes upside down, right? But in fact, you mentioned the way that it works. These fees and the efficiency is actually like this is 12 years in, right?
Yeah.
And so it's actually kind of the opposite. He didn't quite understand that either.
Hey,
so.
Dave. Sometimes crap is used as fertilizer to help things grow.
Thanks, Scott. Doug, do you want to wrap us up on this segment?
Yeah,
What have
yeah.
you got to share?
When you understand this, how you're owning your death benefit, the insurance actually gets cheaper, as Aaron just showed, as you get older. So let me show this illustration right now. I've used this for years, a bucket metaphor. And so if this IUL is a bucket, and let's say we have a male age 60, and this male wants to optimize $500,000 that's in other investments that's not passing what I call the liquidity, safety, rate of return, and tax advantage test, as well as a max funded IUL laser fund does, okay? So people come to us, they want to reposition that money. Now, this male age 60 could buy a grundle of life insurance for that. That's not the objective. He wants the least amount of insurance under these tax citations called TEFRA and DEFRA. And so it's about $1 million, okay, give or take.
Right.
Now, here's what Emran and Aaron were just showing. As this male puts it in there, he has to comply with the Technical Miscellaneous Revenue Act of 1988 to avoid what is called a MEC, a Modified Endowment Contract, so that you can access your money tax-free. You're using this for living benefits, okay? And so he might put in $125,000 the first year and the next year, and he's got half of his $500,000 in maybe by the 1 year and 1 day into it, technically speaking.
Right.
Okay? And so in 3 years and 1 day, or no more than 5 installments, he has his $500,000 in there at that point in time. Okay, $500,000, and I don't even show the interest on that.
Yeah.
Is half of the original death benefit. The net amount of risk at that point in time is half. Because if he died, it pays out $1 million.
Right.
Because of $500,000 was his own self-insurance. So the insurance company is charging him in about 3 years and 1 day, half as much as they were charging him for the insurance.
Yeah, the cost of insurance.
3 years earlier.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this $500,000 for many of my clients have averaged, like 9.62%. You take 9.6 and you divide that into the rule of 72. Your money doubles about every 7.5 years. So this $500,000 could double to $1 million by the 11th year of this policy. Now,
Wow.
what's the net amount? The spigot which is the cost of the insurance, is now Zippo. Except Tefren Defra says if he happened to die, it would leave behind $1,050,000. But the interest he's earning on $1 million dwarfs the cost of insurance on $50,000, because the death benefit has to stay ahead of your cash. If that million doubled in another 7.5 or 10 years to $2 million,
Right.
okay, now $2 million of his own money is earning so much interest tax-free,
Yeah.
and if he died, it leaves behind $2.1 million. But the insurance is just minuscule what it was when he was 20 years earlier, okay, younger.
You know what's kind of cool too is they changed the law back in December 28th of 2020.
Yeah.
One of the last COVID bills, they adjusted Section 7702.
For the positive, right?
Yeah, so it's like
Making this even
They snuck it through.
yeah, like those tax codes he was showing up there, were in the 80s. The last one that's been adjusted was in January 1st. It went into effect of 2021.
Right.
And that law actually made these things 30 to 40% cheaper because it allowed us to get away with less insurance. That example that Doug just showed, it's like $1 million of insurance. If you would have bought this policy, maybe like 6, 7, 8, or 20 years ago, you would have had to buy $1.3 million of insurance. Now you get away with $1 million in that same example. Every age is a little different.
Right.
But these things are even cheaper than ever. It went in the positive, that law change that they did,
Yep.
back then. It's pretty
So,
cool.
so the one you showed us at age 82, that was before the law. You're telling us it's even 30% cheaper even today. Even better than what we just saw.
Yeah. It's amazing. Like that law change was awesome.
Okay. Other than that, we don't have any strong feelings on that subject. So let's move on to our next
We can
segment.
talk about that for half an hour.
Yeah,
longer.
exactly. We could go on and on. Laser Fight Night. How does IUL stack up against traditional financial vehicles? Doug, we mentioned that you love acronyms in our opener, and one acronym that you're famous for is the word laser. What does laser mean, and how does it apply to different financial vehicles?
Thank you for that. Yep, I love acronyms. Laser, the Laser Fund. What is that? It's a properly structured max-funded IUL. Laser means liquid assets safely earning returns. And so if you'll show my screen, this is the risk-return paradigm that I put in many of my books, and it shows here 16 general categories of investments ranked from highest risk to lowest risk. And so these are the key elements of a prudent investment. Number one, liquidity. Can I access my money when I need it without a 10% penalty or triggering tax or whatever? This many fail the liquidity test, okay? This many more fail the safety test. You can lose your principal in those investments. Okay, when we apply the rate of return test, the third test, this many more fail the rate of return test. You have to earn a rate of return greater than the inflation rate at the time. You can't be rowing upstream, so to speak, in a bank or credit union earning 3% interest 3 miles an hour when the current of inflation is coming down at 9. You're going backwards. Okay, we're only down to maybe 3 possibilities, a very small handful of mutual funds and a very small handful of annuities, but this one is the least understood. My favorite, max-funded insurance. That is the only one that gives you a tax-favored harvest. And so you can accumulate your money tax-free. You can access that money tax-free before age 59 and a half without a 10% penalty. And when you ultimately die, it actually transfers income tax-free and usually blossoms, okay? So on the front of our most recent best-selling book here, you see these 4 pillars. And these 4 pillars represent liquidity, safety, rate of return, and tax benefits. You can score any place you put money in America on a scale of 1 to 10 based on that. Why is max-funded IUL my favorite? Because it scores higher, it dwarfs all the other alternatives. When we talk about liquidity, it scores at least 8 out of 10. When we talk about safety, it's like a 9 out of a 10. Okay, the multi-trillion-dollar insurance industry is the backbone of America, the backbone of the world. Okay, rate of return, it usually scores at least 8. And when we get to tax advantages, nothing else does what this does in the Internal Revenue Code. I've taught advanced continuing education to CPAs and tax attorneys for years. I've asked them, show me any other instrument that accumulates your money tax-free, allows you to access that money tax-free, and when you die, it transfers and blossoms tax-free. When you add those 4 numbers up right there, you get a score of 35 out of a possible 40. Most annuities, most mutual funds, IRAs, 401ks only score like 18 20, 22 out of 40. So the max funded IUL is my favorite. It's not a little bit better. It scores a whole lot better.
Okay, that's great. Emran, thoughts on this subject?
Well, I mentioned earlier, about that millionaire mindset, right? And when you look at that millionaire mindset, affluent people, you got to start thinking differently. If you really if you want to get more than what you have now, start thinking differently.
Right.
And that's that first thing about liquidity. Why do affluent people keep their money liquid? So that they can seize opportunities. We live in a land of opportunity. America does not have a lack of opportunity, but we as Americans, the government has duped us into putting money into places where we now lack the ability to seize opportunities.
Yes.
So we maintain that ability to seize opportunities with that liquidity. Then we've got that safety, rate of return, strong rates of return, and keep it tax-free right there. Now I'm thinking like an affluent person thinks.
I mean, while you're talking about that, I'm thinking about clients that come to me and they say, all right, I need money. I have an opportunity. I want to take money out of one of my financial vehicles, one of my investments.
Yeah, yeah.
And let's just talk about it. Which one would they go to? You say, okay, can they go to their IRA or 401k?
Right.
Well, if they're under 59 and a half, we got a 10% penalty.
That's right.
They're like, nope, not going to touch that one.
Yes.
And if they could take a $50,000 loan, but they got to pay it back right away.
Yeah, on a
5 year
schedule specifically, which, like you mentioned before,
only $50,000.
we'll get into that another time. We'll get into the liquidity.
Yeah. So you got that one's the issue.
Awesome.
And then if they're over 59 and a half, if they needed like a $500,000, are they going to take a $500,000 all at once out of their 401k or IRA?
Yeah, no. They have a limit anyways, but even if they do, what happens?
They'd pay way high taxes. They'd be bumped up in the higher brackets.
Astronomical.
They don't want to touch that.
Right.
And then they don't want to touch their brokerage account if the market's gone down.
Yep.
Because the market's gone down, they'll lock in those losses.
Right.
That's the way that you think with your money's in the market. The
Well,
market's
not only
really
that,
high.
you call your stockbroker, your manager, you're like, hey, can I access the money? He's
What's he going to say?
He's like, no, well, I don't know.
No, don't
We're on
do
our
that.
way up. We're making money. Why would you take money out now?
Don't ever take money.
So if the money's going up, no, don't take it out now. If it's losing, well, no, you don't want to lock in your gains. So, yeah, they never want you to touch your money.
Ask an asset manager when the best time to take money out is. They'll tell you never.
Never.
Just leave it in there.
Well, yeah, 'cause it's like it's going up, and it's like, don't take it out because you'll pay taxes on the gains. It's just it's the
always
stock
there.
market trap.
Yeah, right.
It's just the trap of the stock market.
It's never a good time to take money
and,
out.
and real estate. So basically, looking at all that, their IUL is super cool. Liquidity, the laser fund, because clients take a loan out, they can pay it back when they want. They don't have to pay the loan interest.
And the money that's in there for the loan stays in the indexing allocation, and they're still allowed to earn interest on that indexing.
Let's talk about that, like that client. Some of these accounts are 20%, 9%, 10, whatever.
Right.
The money was still in there earning that return. The loans he had out, he borrowed at 5%.
And he earned a much higher.
Yeah, borrowed at 5. This is what's
amazing.
Wait,
borrowed
that's
at
what
5.
banks do.
And his money's earning way higher, and then he can pay it back when he wants.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to. If he passes away, he gets subtracted out, like we kind of saw. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great.
One of Doug's original illustrations is that picture of the bank with one side CDs 2%, bank loans in the other window at 7%.
'Cause that's what banks are doing.
Banks
They're
are doing
borrowing
that.
our money and paying us a measly 1%,
Yep.
and then they're turning around and loaning it out. Oh, it's high interest rate virus. They're paying. They're
Now you get to get put in the position.
they're
of the
collecting
bank.
7%. Yeah, exactly.
Become your own banker.
Just liquidity.
Now,
Be able to access it when you want.
Scotty, let me throw a question to you. Doug mentioned, a 10 on the tax. I could feel a lot of people out there kind of saying, well, wait a minute. What about a Roth? How does an IUL stack up against a Roth?
Yeah, well, Lasert with the T didn't
Lasert, I
sound
know.
very good.
I know. So we just
not on
it's
there.
an option. It's a silent T.
But yeah, the tax free
It's French.
is just the best part, I think, of the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's really what to know that I'm working for my money's growing, and I don't have to pay Uncle Sam half of it.
Right.
Is huge. And then the people in poor California, not only they have to pay Uncle Sam, but they got to pay Uncle Cal as well.
Yeah, that's right.
And
the
just
state rates.
whammies all around. And you got your fees that you got to pay to your broker. You got taxes. You got all these things that just drain those.
Emran and Aaron talked about putting large amounts in. Doug, $500,000. Can you put $500,000 into a Roth IRA? Nope, you can't. There's some limitations, right? There's a big difference between Roth and.
In fact, if you make too much money, you can't even have a Roth.
Yeah,
that's why
right.
savvy CPAs and tax attorneys
That's right.
refer to a max funded IUL laser fund as the rich person's Roth.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be rich.
Rich man, poor man,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, there
rich
you go.
man's Roth IRA is a max funded IUL.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're enjoying this content and are wondering how to take advantage of these ideas, at Laser Financial, we help individuals and families like yours implement proven strategies to grow and protect your wealth. Strategies that don't rely on risky markets or high taxes. One of the most powerful tools is the Index Universal Life Policy, or IUL. It's not just insurance, it's a tax-free retirement strategy, a way to grow your money with compound interest and a safety net against market downturns. Imagine this. During retirement, your money grows when the market goes up, but when it drops, your principal stays protected from those market downturns. And because IUL strategies can be structured for tax-free income, you get to keep more of what you've worked so hard to save. Go to laserfinancial.com or call 801-505-0409 to schedule a free consultation and see how these strategies can work for you. Don't wait. Take the first step toward a brighter, more secure financial future today. Go to laserfinancial.com or call 801-505-0409. This content is also brought to you by IUL Insiders. If you're a financial professional tuning into the show and you're wondering how you can expand your business working with Index Universal Life, or IUL, that's where IUL Insiders comes in. They've trained thousands of professionals like you to go beyond just selling policies. In the next few weeks, they're hosting the IUL Challenge. It's a free 3-day event designed specifically for financial professionals who want to master the art and science of IUL. You'll learn proven strategies to market, design, and sell properly structured policies that deliver incredible results for your clients and for your bottom line. Visit IULchallenge.com/93 to save your seat. Spots are limited, so don't wait. That's IULchallenge.com/93 to take your business to the next level. Okay, on to our final segment, safety of the institution and safety from loss. After the 2008 market crash, Time magazine infamously made the following headline: why it's time to retire the 401k. Ooh, very catchy. That was very clever, right? Basically saying that because of market losses and outdated ways of thinking, we should retire the 401k. So when we talk about safety, how do we define safety and why is it so important? Emron, let's throw this to you.
Well, again, I mean, if you really break this down, safety. And when I look at safety, you're looking at whether the safety of the product, safety of the institutions, all over the place right there. But when I also look at it, for me, it's about control. Control.
Peace of mind.
Exactly. And who has control? And as I look at like this why it's time to retire the 401k, oftentimes I tell people all the time, an IRA 401k is not a sole proprietorship, it's a partnership.
Yes.
Right? And you're leaving the hands of your future. If you want to turn over your future to the government and let them dictate to you whether or not when you can retire, when you can access money, how much you're going to access, how much is going to go to them versus how much is going to go to you. So I really believe, one of the greatest secrets about safety is taking back control.
Yeah, control and you have your partnership, and who's your partner with the 401k?
Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam. And his appetite is just nastily
Bigger
big.
than mine.
He has a controlling interest, right? He can change the rules of the partnership at any time. Aaron, what are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so the two areas, like we said, safety of principal and safety of the institution.
Right.
So first of all, we're talking about companies that we work with that have been around for 100 to 150 years. So basically in 2008, hundreds of banks went out of business. 0 life insurance companies went under. There was 2 little life insurance companies I remember hearing about that were no-name companies, never heard of.
Right.
That were about to, have some issues. So what happened to them?
They got bought up.
They got bought up.
Yep.
Big companies like Prudential, another one bought those companies up.
Yeah.
They got absorbed. And so the insurance industry is so solid.
Right.
So solid. These companies we use have been around since before the Great Depression. We're talking 100 to 150 years. And their legal reserve requirements are so high. Their safety, the amount of cash they have on hand, their investments are very, very solid. So if the insurance companies go under, we have bigger problems.
Yeah.
So they're going to be the last to go under, in my opinion, if they ever did, and everything else is going to fall apart before then. So it's like the safest place to put our money, in our opinion. It's like
very high safety rate.
very high safety.
Economists
And then-
often call it the backbone, right? The backbone of the American economy.
Yeah.
They're the ones that hold all the bonds, the corporate bonds in the world.
Right.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember in 2009, I ran those numbers.
Yeah.
There were about 450 banks that went out of business. And there were 3,500 mutual funds that ceased to exist. 3,500. And
Wow.
so, I mean, when we talk safety of institution, that's huge. But then,
Yeah, because a lot of people look at banks and they think, oh, a bank is super safe. I can put my money there. It's super safe.
yeah,
right?
not only that, but they also charged all banks that remained like double or triple their normal payments that they pay into the FDIC.
To the FDIC.
just to survive.
And FDIC has got its own problems. That's like another show.
And then of course,
But-
oh,
sorry, go ahead.
no, say safety of principle. It's like zero's the hero. We started with
Right.
Yep.
is that's the whole point of these. You know,
Yes.
like it's, the safety of the product is this is not a security. Your money's not in the market. It's linked to the market. You have the guarantees from the insurance company that you can't lose if the market goes down. Now that client I showed earlier, $1,000 of fees.
Right.
So if we had zero's the hero, our account went from 762,000 to
Right.
761.
The cost of the insurance. Yeah. Yeah.
So we go down by $1,000.
Right.
And the market could have gone down 40%.
But again, that asset management fee, typical like 1% or whatever.
Yeah, it would have been $7,400 plus a negative
Plus
40
the
in
loss
the
of
market.
the market.
Right. Plus the loss of the market.
Like,
That's what's amazing.
Double
Like,
negatives.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
The protection of principle is like you're never
great.
going to lose due to the market going down. It's just,
I mean,
it's
I'll
peace
talk.
of mind.
I'm sure you're going to talk about compound interest on another show.
Yes,
but
we are.
I liken it to a snowball rolling down the hill. But then also, when you have a traditional investment, your hill that your snowball's rolling down on, there's a ton of trees in the way. And every once in a while, that snowball is going to hit a tree and shave off a portion of that snowball that it then has to grow back on top of itself before it can kind of continue on.
Scott, you're pretty good at this stuff, Scott.
I've been doing it for a little bit.
All right, Doug, let's have you. Can you give us the final word on this kind of topic here?
Yeah,
Close
well, that
it out.
article that is framed over here to your left. Stephen Gandel wrote that, and he said that the 401k is a lousy idea, a financial flop, a rotten repository for our retirement reserves. Now, I used to criticize the 401k, and I didn't use that strong of language. But why? Because for the second time in a decade, most Americans lost up to 40% in the value of their IRAs or 401ks. $1 million nest egg in the year 2000 went down to $600,000 twice. Okay. And it took until 2012 to come back to break even.
Yeah.
Our clients with Max Funded IUL didn't lose. They were cheering in 2008, go,
Right.
because they weren't losing. And most
What
of
Aaron
them,
was talking about earlier.
yeah, they doubled or tripled their money tax-free. And then in January of 2017, the Wall Street Journal came out with the original champions of the 401k. Lament the day they ever came up with that idea. Why? Because it was never intended to become the go-to retirement vehicle invested in a volatile market.
Right.
Okay? But a lot of businesses, they said, we don't want to have to manage a pension anymore, defined benefit pension. Let's just have people do defined contributions to a 401k. So that it's just, when you have max funded IUL, you don't lose when the market goes down. Our clients were cheering.
That's pretty amazing. All right, just a reminder that if you enjoy this content and you want to see more of it, please like and subscribe. And if you would like to ask a question, please comment on this video, and we may use your question in one of our next shows. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Make sure the small changes in your life have a big impact on your future. And we wish you all the best in the 3 dimensions of your authentic wealth. Thanks, and we'll see you on the next show.
Thank you, everybody.